Hi guys, Tammy Slater Kendrick here again. Today I'm going to show you how I went from having 0 to having an average of about 2 to 3 listing appointments every week and how I did it practically overnight. But first I want you to be sure to watch to the end because there's some additional information right at the end that you'll want to see that can make or break your business. Now, I promise that I'm going to deliver more training and knowledge and free information in this session than you'll get by spending hours and hours with your broker or through any other training that you'll get. I'm also going to save you dozens of hours, maybe even months of frustration. So turn off your phone and your email and get ready to take some notes. I think today's session is going to take about 45 minutes. First, let me briefly explain my background with regards to real estate because it'll help you understand that what I've done and what I'm doing is something that you can do. And for you, it'll be even easier because all the hard work and the testing has already been done for you. Last year, I was managing a real estate office of more than 80 agents. I helped agents learn what to do to build a real estate business, a business that would build upon itself and get easier over time with bigger and bigger profits every year. My goal was to eventually get them to the point that the majority of their business came from past clients and referrals so that they weren't having to prospect for new clients all the time. If you're spending hours a day making cold calls to prospect for new clients, it's not really any different than having a telemarketing job. And my guess is that you didn't get into real estate so you could trade one job for another, and especially not a telemarketing job. I wanted the agents that I worked with focused on building a reputation and making a name for themselves because that kind of business is recession proof and it isn't affected by a shifting market, which is where most of the country is headed right now. So when I decided to step away from managing an office and instead build my own business, I had to start my own real estate business from scratch. Now, for me, some of the traditional methods that are used just don't fit my personality. For example, picking up the phone to call hundreds of strangers every day is not something I wanted to do. Not to mention that unless the call is purely informational, it really does violate the do not call laws, no matter what other people may tell you. And the majority of homeowners in my area are on that do not call list. My guess is that they are in your area too, especially homeowners. So although I can get their number from the Red X or a similar source, I knew I couldn't call those listed as DNC with my sales pitch without risking getting fined. Besides, it really irritates most people to receive an unsolicited call from someone they don't know, and I don't like the idea of building a business by irritating people. I also knew that I shouldn't cold call expireds and for sale by owners like dozens of other agents if those people are on the do not call list. In case you haven't been watching what's happening, large brokerages are getting sued because their agents are calling expireds and FSBOs, and the people they're calling are seeking damages for being harassed because they're getting calls from multiple agents in the same office. It's a violation of the do not call list, and they can be fined up to $11,000 for each call. That means you can get fined up to $11,000 for each call. So even if you don't use anything else I'm going to show you today, if the only thing you take away is that you shouldn't be calling people on the do not call list, then your time with me today could save you thousands of dollars in fines. Even if they're not on the do not call list, calling people who have no idea who I am is just not how I want to spend 3 hours of my day every day, which is what it takes to build a business with cold calling. Traditional advertising also wasn't going to get me to my goals because the area in which I live is inundated with agents. There are thousands of them in my county. No exaggeration. I think there were about 6,000 or 7,000 the last time I checked. It would take thousands of dollars every single month, and it would take several months before people would even recognize me. I knew I needed to do something that was completely different from what the majority of agents are doing, so that's what I set out to do. Now, I do think it's important for me to note here that I focus on attracting sellers because having listings will bring buyers to you organically. When you have a listing, a seller to represent, you have the opportunity to advertise the property and you can attract buyers to you as part of the sales process. So I knew the best use of my time was to spend it attracting sellers and then pick up buyers along the way. Now, I really wanted prospective sellers calling me, or at the very least, I wanted them to welcome my call because they were expecting it and they were anxious to talk with me. And I wanted people to recognize my name and my face so that it became easy to talk to them about real estate. I wanted people to recognize me and approach me when I'm at the grocery store or out at a local restaurant or event. So those were my goals in building my business. It took almost a year to put everything in place first. That was the hard part. That's the part you're going to be able to skip. Once I had everything in place, I was able to go from 0 to averaging 2 to 3 listing appointments every single week. In a few moments, I'm going to explain how you can cut out the legwork and get started attracting sellers right now so you don't have to spend months putting the infrastructure in place like I did. Let me show you what I'm doing so that you can replicate it for yourself. First, I started by picking a farm area where I wanted to specialize. I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars every month trying to reach everyone I could represent, such as everyone in my entire county. Instead, I selected an area that has good turnover and high enough home prices so that I could reach my financial targets. Of course, I also wanted to start with an area that wasn't already dominated by a single agent. It takes a long time to replace someone who's firmly established already. The reason I wanted to focus on a smaller area rather than the whole county is because of the cost to reach everyone and because it didn't allow me to establish myself as an expert. That's the key to getting people to call you and to trust you. They have to know that you're the expert for their neighborhood or area. Over time, we'll be able to widen the area by just replicating the process one neighborhood or area at a time to build the business even bigger, if that's the goal. But each time we do it, it'll get easier and easier because you'll get name recognition from the areas you already dominate. And that's when you can unseat an established agent. But you have to get started with just one area first. So once I identified an area where I wanted to focus, I used the post office's EDDM mapping tool to choose my exact area, down to which streets would be included. I'll explain why I did that in just a minute. Next, in order to establish myself as an expert in my area, I needed to know as much as I can about the homes and the recent sales history, right? So I used a combination of the MLS, the county records, and I even used Zillow to pull all the sales data that I could over the past several years. I did a 5-year look back, but I really focused most closely on the past year to 18 months. Here's why this step is so important. While other agents are just talking about 1 or 2 recent sales, or they're using statistics from a broad area that they get from their broker or their local board, I'm able to talk about trends that are specific to my farm, that handful of streets I mentioned earlier. For example, instead of sending out a postcard that says, 123 Main Street just sold for $500,000, I wanted to send information that discusses multiple properties that have sold in recent months, and I wanted to compare sales prices and how long homes are taking to sell as a trend rather than just one home. It sends a different message. It's a message that says, I know the real estate market here, and I'm the person you want to represent you. I also wanted to be able to talk about properties that don't sell because no one else is doing that in their marketing. And I can't do that with just listed and just sold postcards. If I talk about the things no one else wants to talk about, it helps develop trust in me that I'm a straight shooter. Now, remember I said that I start by doing a deep dive on sales over the past few years. Because those homes have already sold or they're no longer on the market because they expired, I don't have the opportunity to visit them in person. So instead, what I do is I use the photos and the description and the county information. I pull it all together, and I want to get familiar with every home that has been on the market. I start with the most recent first, and I work my way backwards. I specifically want to identify what's selling, at what price, and how quickly. Those are the 3 things that are most important to sellers. So my approach is very different than saying, hey, this one house that's similar to yours sold at this price. Or even what we do when we create a comp, when we say, hey, here are 3 homes that have sold in the past 6 months. When you do the listing presentation, you'll do that when you're giving them the actual comp. But remember that this is your routine marketing that goes to everyone in the area. What you want to do is to show potential sellers that you have a deep understanding of what it's going to take for them to sell successfully. If they believe that before they even talk to you, the listing process is much easier. While I'm doing the research, I also educate myself on the number of times the listing price changes. You should be able to get that from the MLS. While other agents are saying that a home sold for 90% of list price after being on the market 6 months, I'm able to be more specific and tell them that homes that are priced correctly sell in an average of 21 days, and those that are overpriced take 6 months and they sell for 12% less than those that are priced correctly. It's much more specific. Now, spending some time each day getting myself more and more familiar with the homes that have sold in my farm area isn't a substitute for actually representing those homes myself, but it helped me increase my knowledge beyond that of the average agent before I had firsthand experience. So here's a tip while doing this process, and I don't have a graphic for this. I found that to really remember one property versus another, I could only do a deep dive on a couple of properties each day, usually about 3. Otherwise, they all run together. What I do is I really zoom in on the photos and I look for specific features, as well as things that might be considered negative with regards to selling. This isn't just a quick glance through a slideshow of photos. I'm talking about taking several minutes per photo to really get to know the home. Especially if the home sat on the market for more than 60 days, I want to try to identify why. After the deep dive on the photos and information, it also helps to remember them better if you drive by the properties you look at each day, only those couple of homes. It gives you a chance to see if the pictures, at least on the outside, represent the home properly, and you can look for things like whether the neighbors' homes hurt the sales price. And it just helps you get it firmly in your mind where the home is and what it looks like. When I do this, I like to drive around the neighborhood with my car magnets on so people see me often. If people see my car driving in the neighborhood every day, or even if they only see me a couple times a week, it sends a message that I'm truly active in the neighborhood, whether I have signs in yards or not. So those are the things that I did to prepare myself so that I could be confident when talking to people, and so I had enough information to use when reaching potential sellers to convince them that I know the market. You can start that today, and you can have enough knowledge within a couple of days to sound more knowledgeable than 80 to 90% of other agents out there. Keep in mind that in order to be perceived as an expert, you do not have to know more than everyone else. That's a big myth. You simply have to show that you know a considerable amount more than the person you're reaching. So by spending an hour or so each day getting completely familiar with just 3 properties, really within a couple of weeks, you really will be the neighborhood expert. Now, let's talk about actually reaching them to start attracting business, because you can start doing this within a couple of days, even when you don't have a deep knowledge of all of the properties that have sold. I'm sure you know that people have to see your information repeatedly before they start remembering you. No one is going to call you or even talk to you if they receive just one postcard, or you knock on the door just one time, or you call them out of the blue. Here's a guide that was written by Thomas Smith in 1885, and it still holds pretty true today because it's based on human nature. Now, I'm not going to go through every step because it's more about creating demand for a product, which is a little different than what we're doing because we really aren't trying to convince people to sell their home. But you can see that the first several times people see a marketing or advertising message, they really don't pay attention to it. Now, I think that's more true today than it was then, because we're exposed to advertising messages all day long, everywhere we turn. Your target audience needs to recognize your name and face before thinking about selling, so that when they are ready to sell, they think of you. And that can take at least half a dozen exposures to it, probably more like a dozen. And you have to do it consistently so your message is sure to appear in front of them when the time comes for them to reach out to an agent. So that means you have to do it every single week, and you have to do it for years. Think of it like a TV commercial that plays over and over again for something that you're not thinking about buying at the time. Unless it's super creative and it's different enough that it really catches somebody's attention, they're just going to ignore it at first. Now, if you can afford to hire a high-priced ad agency to create some really unique materials for you every few months, go for it. If not, we're going to need to rely on creating a message that's somewhat different, as we already discussed, and you're going to have to rely on repetition. If you try reaching them just once a month or even once a week, it's going to take a long time to get to the point of recognizing who you are. So to expedite that process, I want them to see my name a couple of times a week, 3 times if possible. To do that, I need to reach them through various mediums because they won't always pay attention to their mail. Not to mention that a direct mail piece 3 times a week would really be cost prohibitive. While reaching them, I want them to know that I specialize in my particular area, the area I chose in the first step. And here's what I do. This is what you definitely want to write this down. I use a combination of door hangers, direct mail, social media outreach, and online advertising. Then, if I am able to get their email address at some point, I also reach them through email to stay in touch by sending my neighborhood update, my newsletter, as well as just listed and just sold emails. The reason I use several methods is because people are inundated with messages every day, and we have all developed a really good ability to tune them out. By putting something in front of them frequently and every place I can, my information is more likely to be recognized. Then, when they're thinking about selling their home, their antenna will be up, and my information will be in front of them, usually within 24 to 48 hours in one fashion or another. It's similar to when you buy a new car or you're thinking about buying a new car. Suddenly, everywhere you look, you see that car. It was all around you all the time, but you didn't really see it until you were ready to receive the information. My information will be in front of them frequently, and they'll subconsciously register it. Then when they're ready to sell, they'll see it again, and they'll recognize me right away. Now let's look at the type of messaging they receive. The direct mail pieces provide insights into the trends, what's selling, for how much, and how long it takes, along with a marketing message that offers them something of value for free, which is something that appeals to those who are currently thinking about selling. Now, to save money, I use the post office's Every Door Direct Mail program. It's called EDDM. What this allows me to do is it allows me to reach every household in my area for just 18 cents postage, plus the cost of printing. To save money on printing, I order double the amount that I need so I can send the same mailer twice. I also don't have to address them, which is awesome. Now, I do direct mail once a month. The door hangers also provide recent market information, kind of in the form of my newsletter, along with a helpful homeowner tip. It also talks about my expertise and my value proposition, what I bring to the table for home sellers. It also offers something of value for free to directly appeal to anyone who's thinking about selling. I walk the neighborhood with my logoed shirt on so that I can have conversations with people I meet along the way, but I could just as easily hire someone to do these for me if I didn't have the ability to do it myself. Just remember that many people have Ring video doorbells now, so you want to be sure the person who goes up to the door presents a professional image you want to portray. When I see a Ring doorbell, I wave and I smile as I put the flyer on the door. I do door hangers at least once a month, and I usually spread it over a couple of days since my area is pretty large and I live in Florida, so it's usually hot. So that's twice a month they're getting something printed. If I'm having an open house or sending a just listed or just sold postcard, they could receive printed information several times a month. Next, I start and contribute to conversations on Nextdoor.com and Facebook, so people see that I'm a part of the community. Now, I would do Twitter and other social media if my target market used those sites, but most of mine don't. So what do I post? Often I'll post photos or a video when we go to a local restaurant or business. I answer questions, but I don't ever get into arguments. And I try to come from a place of contribution, which means that I offer suggestions, say positive, encouraging things to people, and talk about upcoming local events or those that I just participated in. I also provide homeowner resources when people ask for recommendations. For example, when someone is looking for a plumber, I'll write something like, I use and I've recommended Joe Plumber to several of my home buyers and sellers, and have always gotten good results. Including the wording about my buyers and sellers allows me to remind people what I do without being salesy. And giving them a resource lets them know that I'm an agent that does more than just ask them when they're planning to buy or sell. Hopefully you can see that those types of messages are received a lot better than a promotional message. I also recently created a Facebook group for residents of my area, and I use it the same way, since far more people in my area use Facebook than Nextdoor. Since I own the group, I also get to control what posts I allow, so no other real estate agents are allowed to promote themselves. It's in the group rules that promotional messages have to be approved before posting or they'll be deleted. I let people know about my listings and buyer needs, and I offer something of value for free. It's always at the top of the page. I invite local businesses to join the group, and when I invite them, I tell them it's okay for them to promote their business and events anytime without any further pre-approval because I already know them and trust them. That starts building my reputation with them. To grow the group, I run ads promoting it to people who live in my target area so they know to join the group. Most of these things I've been talking about so far are part of the long game strategy. It takes time to become known. Here's where I get the majority of my direct, immediate results. In addition to boosting posts when I have properties to market, which lets them know that I'm selling homes in the area, I run Facebook ads offering something of value for free that only home sellers would want. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I keep my budget low by targeting an area that's no more than 15 miles from the center of my farm. I chose 15 miles because that's the minimum that Facebook allows now for housing-related ads. What I did is I found an address that's essentially in the middle of the circle that I want to target. I put in that exact address, then I select plus 15 miles, which is the default anyway. Since the area is fairly small, I can do this for a few dollars a day and I can reach a lot of people. Now you'll notice that down in the demographic area, Facebook does not allow you to select demographics for any housing related ads anymore. So I can't specify ages and I can't exclude real estate agents and brokers, which were my competitors, like I used to be able to do. If I didn't check the box saying that it's a housing related ad, I could narrow my audience, but I run the risk of having Facebook reject the ad and possibly refuse to allow me to advertise, and I don't want to run that risk. So basically, where the marketing cost and time is higher, which is direct mail and door hangers, I stick to my farm. Where the cost is affordable, such as social media advertising, I expand it to a 30-mile circle. I started with Facebook, then I expanded to Google Ads as well, but Facebook is definitely where I get the majority of my results. You may want to test both in your area to see if your results are the same. My budget is just a few dollars a day, $100 a month. Now, I run ads between 6 a.m. and midnight because I figure most people who are on social media after midnight are there for purely social reasons, so my marketing message is wasted on them. But that's my target market, who tend to be older. Yours might be different, so you can play with it. For boosted posts, such as just listed and open house announcements, I set it up to pay for impressions because you can get in front of a few thousand people for just a few dollars. For the ads where I offer something for free and I send them to a lead capture page, I pay for click-throughs, which means that I select the lead generation option in Facebook. In other words, I only pay if someone actually clicks on the ad and goes to my webpage. It can be as high as a couple of dollars per click, but since I know the only people clicking on the ad are those who are truly interested in my offer, I know that I'm more likely to get their contact information. And I'll pay a couple dollars for a solid seller lead any day, especially one that no one else is likely to know about, right? Now, you'll notice that in just about all of my communications, I said I offer something of value for free. My goal is to get them to self-identify that they're thinking about selling their home. So the item that I offer is something only home sellers would ask for. I make it super easy for them to get it immediately, but I also want to make sure that I capture their contact information so I can follow up with them. Now, I could offer a home valuation or market analysis like every other agent in my area does, but that wouldn't set me apart. It also wouldn't help me establish myself as the area expert, which is my ultimate goal. When people think about selling, I want them to associate my name with my market area. I want it to become automatic so that anytime there's a thought or a conversation about selling a home, my name automatically comes to mind. Or if someone tells a neighbor they're going to put their home on the market, I want the neighbor to ask, "Hey, did you call Tammy yet?" As if it's just assumed that I'm the person they would call. So I want the free gift I offer to send a loud and clear message that I'm the expert in my area. In addition to door hangers, mailers, and online advertising, another way I generate immediate business is that I also directly target people whose homes did not sell. People who already identified themselves as being interested in selling expired listings. For this, I expand outside my target area, mostly because my farm area doesn't have a lot of them. I use that same 15-mile radius, that 30-mile wide circle that I use for paid ads. What I do is I use the MLS to do a look back for sellers that other agents are no longer contacting, as well as recent ones. I look for expireds from the past year. And then, of course, I look for those that just became expired. Then I deliver information directly to them that'll help them get their home sold if they're still interested in selling. And I offer my expertise to help them when they're ready to relist their home. I follow up by giving them a call to make sure they got my gift, and I ask if there's anything I can do to help them. This gets me around the do not call list. I establish a relationship by giving them a gift. And my call is not a solicitation. I'm simply asking if they got my gift, and I'm offering my help. Sometimes they'll schedule an appointment with me right on that first call, generally after they ask a few questions. Other times they may not be ready to relist just yet, so I ask if I can keep in touch with them from time to time. Almost everyone says yes to this because I said from time to time, which lets them know that I'm not going to be bugging them all the time. I'll get their email address and then I add them to my drip campaign so they're getting something from me often enough to keep my name in front of them. Then I schedule a follow-up call for a week later to see if there's anything they need if they didn't specify a time frame. But if they did specify a time frame, say they told me I won't put it back on the market for another 3 months, I put a follow-up note in my CRM to reach out to them about 3 weeks before the date they specified. A lot of times people act quicker than they say they're going to. During this time, they're receiving routine communications from me about what's happening with the market. Remember that most of this is automated, so it's not like I'm spending hours and hours every week trying to follow up. I do the same process with for sale by owners, giving them something that'll help them get their home sold and offering my expertise to help them. I follow up with a phone call to see if there's anything I can help them with. And then, of course, I'll discuss holding an open house for them where I pay for everything, including advertising. And if their home has been on the market for a few weeks and they indicate they haven't had any offers, I'll offer to come over for a no-obligation walkthrough evaluation to see if there's suggestions that I can make to help them attract an offer. I won't even discuss listing their property with me on this first phone call. I'm coming from contribution only. I know that if I can get face-to-face with them and do something for them, either holding an open house or by doing an evaluation for them, or both, I'm far more likely to be successful when I discuss listing with me instead of trying to do it themselves or go with another agent. So that's kind of my system in a nutshell. Let's recap it real quick. First, pick an area with enough homes and high enough sales prices that'll get you to your financial goals. Become the expert in that area. Then reach them with print media at least twice a month, more often once you have an open house that just listed or just sold to advertise, and always offer something of value. Reach them online when they're doing the things they normally do, such as social media and neighborhood sites, and offer something of value. Between print and online, you want them to see your name, your photo, and your offer every few days. Send something of value directly to those whose homes did not sell and use it to start a conversation. And send something of value directly to for sale by owners and use it to start a conversation. Between these things, I'm getting a couple of solid leads a week. Now, let's get more specific about what to offer. As I was designing the marketing system and deciding what I was going to do, the one question that kept nagging me was, what can I offer that's different from what other agents are offering, that can help me establish myself as the expert in my area, that would truly be something of value to anyone who wants to sell their home and only be of value to someone who wants to sell their home, that I can deliver cost effectively yet still be impressive. It was a pretty tall order. I was sitting in my office pondering the question, then I looked beside me. The answer to my question was right there. My entire life, whenever I had a problem to solve, or needed a solution, or needed to expand my knowledge level on something, the answer was always found in a book. Over the years, I've invested thousands of dollars in books myself. Physical books, audible books, and electronic books. Some of the books on my shelf are purely for pleasure, but most of them are business books, how-to books, and other forms of self-help type books. Books are how Amazon got its start. Because it was selling books, it's one of the few tech companies that survived the dot-com meltdown in 2000. It's a multi-billion-dollar business for a reason. Love them or hate them, they're just plain successful. People turn to books when they need help, and they look to the author as an authority figure. Have you ever heard the expression, "he wrote the book on this subject"? Being an author of a book gives instant credibility. It says, this person is the expert in this subject. The problem is that most people have no idea how to write a book, where to start, what to say, how to organize the chapters, how to present the information in an authoritative yet informative and entertaining way, then how to create a book cover that entices people to pick it up in the first place. Then it has to be distributed either electronically or in print, or both. If you didn't know how to do any of this, it would take at least a year or more. Fortunately for you, it has already been done for you. I invested the time, the research, and the money into it, and I'm going to share it with you so you don't have to. In order to be perceived as the expert, what made the most sense to me was to offer a book that gives home sellers what they need to know in order to sell their home for the highest price in the shortest amount of time. It needs to answer those 3 questions we discussed earlier that home sellers want answered. They want to know what's selling. More specifically, they want to know what they can do as a home seller to ensure that their home offers what buyers want. They want to know how quickly they can sell so they don't have to live in limbo for a long time. And they want to know how they can get the most money for their home, the highest price the market will bear. Remember that my routine communications, the mailers and door hangers, already tell them how much homes are selling for in the area. By letting them know what they can and should do if they want to get the highest price without spending more than they have to, I'm offering them some control, a way for them to ensure they get a higher price so they can put more money in their pocket. That's the missing component the book provides. It tells them in no uncertain terms that I'm the expert who knows how to help them. The book also talks about pricing and what to expect during the sales process. Most people aren't interested in having their home on the market for an unknown period of time for many months. They would rather wait and put it on their market when they're ready for it to sell and then have it sell quickly. So I focus on selling in a short time, which also happens to get them the highest price. As real estate agents, we know that the offers that come in right away are higher, and that the longer a home sits on the market, the lower the offers and eventual sales price. The book helps to educate them about that. If you're like me, you're competing with other agents for listings, right? Most other agents are offering a home valuation or market analysis. They're essentially saying, hey, let me give you a rough estimate of what your home is currently worth depending on the state it's in. Today, they can get an estimate from Zillow. They don't need me for that. So instead of doing what everyone else is doing, I'm telling them to get the highest price possible for your home in our market area based on expert knowledge of what's happening. Here's what your home needs, and here's what you need to know. So that's what I'm offering them. Now, earlier, when I said that I was able to start generating an average of 2 to 3 listing opportunities per week practically overnight, that was from the time I had the book written and the infrastructure in place to deliver it. As you can imagine, actually writing the book with everything that goes along with that, and creating a website to capture their information and deliver the book immediately and send follow-up emails to them took a few months, and it cost a lot. Here's an idea of what my process looked like. You can see that it's pretty complex, and it was time-consuming. Of course, I realized that creating websites with embedded video, a lead capture system that alerts me immediately so I can follow up, and a tool that automatically delivers content to the new lead instantly isn't something the average real estate agent can do. It costs thousands of dollars to hire someone to do these things for you, and it takes months to put it in place. The good news is that I've already invested the time and the money into creating the tools. I own them 100% because I created them, and I'm offering to share them with other agents for less than $1 a day. There is no other tool I found that will give you a higher return than this. You'll be able to offer a book with your name, your photo, and your information as the author. The title of your book will be unique to your market area, so people will know it's written just for them. You'll be able to choose a cover design that fits your market area. There are 10 designs to choose from. You'll even be able to modify the book as much or as little as you want. This isn't a cookie-cutter book that has a modified cover. It's literally your book. For example, in a paragraph where we talk about home prices, you might want to change the prices so they're more in line with homes in your market area. So maybe instead of using an example with a price of $500,000, you might change it to $250,000 or maybe $1 million. where we talk about home features that prevent homes from selling, change it to include features that are specific to your area. For example, in my area in Florida, we have many homes with outdated terrazzo floors that turn buyers off. In your area, it might be unfinished basements or lack of an outdoor living space. In other words, modify the book so your readers know it came from you, and so they know you understand the area. Remember, the entire purpose is to give you instant credibility as the go-to expert for your area. To make it easy, I marked some areas in red so you'll be able to quickly identify an opportunity to personalize the book. So you can spend as much or as little time as you want making the book your own. You can spend just a couple of hours on this and you'll have a book that's completely customized to you and your market area. And don't worry about formatting it, that'll be taken care of for you. Now, you may be asking why I'm making this so affordable. I know that would be my first question if I was you, and I'd probably be skeptical and think there's a catch. After all, it would be worth at least a few $100s a month, wouldn't it? Zillow charges some agents $1,000 a month for a couple of leads that they share with multiple agents, and people are happy to pay it. This system is offering as many leads as you can handle for less than $30 a month. So why am I doing this? It's because of the struggles I saw so many agents going through when I was running the real estate office. I saw agents who committed to spending hundreds, some of them thousands of dollars a month on tools like Zillow for real estate leads. I watched as they were frustrated with the lack of leads coming into the office through floor time or incoming calls. I listened as agents dialed for hours trying to find just one person who would talk to them, getting rejected time after time. I wanted to create something that's easy for anyone to do, and I wanted to offer something that's affordable for someone who's struggling, or someone who's just getting started, or someone who's doing this part-time and doesn't have the ability to make phone calls all day long. That's why there are no monthly contracts. You can cancel this at any time. I also wanted to not only offer the opportunity for you to provide the book as an immediate download, an electronic book, I also wanted to offer you the chance for you to have it printed if you want. It's completely optional, and you're going to order directly from the printer, not from me. For people who request it on your webpage, they will get your book immediately in an electronic version, but you may want to follow up by offering a printed version that you can hand deliver and introduce yourself to them. Luckily, I found a book printer who doesn't require a minimum number of books. You can order just one if you want. Actually, I highly recommend that you order just one first to be sure it looks the way you want before you order several. The best part is the price. Most book printers charge $20 or more for small quantities. With this printer, it's going to run around $7 a book. The price depends on the total number of pages in your finished version, so it varies depending on the changes you make to your book. Ordering printed books is purely optional. You are not required to order any if you don't want to, or you can wait and order them later. We'll go ahead and send it to the printer and have your cover designed for you. Then we'll send you a link to your own private ordering page. You can share this page with others if you want, such as a local bookstore. Here's why I wanted to include the printed option for you. For expireds and for sale by owners, I suggest delivering the printed book, maybe along with some samples of your marketing materials and a personal letter introducing yourself. If you want, you can attach a balloon to the package so they see it as soon as they get home. Then call them a day later to make sure they received your package. You can deliver that package yourself, or you can have an Uber or Lyft driver or a courier deliver it for you. If you use Uber or Lyft, though, I would have them take a photo of the package sitting by the front door and text it to you so that you have confirmation it was delivered. Trust me, delivering a package with the book you authored along with a personal letter will set you apart from the dozens of agents who are calling them with a canned script. When you call a day later to make sure they got it, they'll welcome your call. Oh, and did I mention that you will have your own lead capture webpage created for you? It'll have a custom video that includes the title of your book, the title that includes your market area, of course, along with your name and your contact information. I've hired a professional voice actor for you, so it's like your own personal commercial. When you send people to your page, they'll request the book, which we'll deliver electronically for you, and you will immediately get an email with their name and email so that you can follow up later. If you'd like to see this in action, click the demo link below to see a sample web page. One last thing that I want to mention because it's huge. Once you place your order, you will have exclusive rights to your entire zip code. In other words, no one else will be offering this to your market area. Even though you may only start with a small neighborhood, I wanted to make sure you wouldn't have any competition when you start to expand. That entire zip code will belong exclusively to you for as long as you want it. We won't let anyone else claim it unless you cancel. Of course, what this means is that someone else may claim it before you. So if you're thinking that this is a tool for you, don't let this opportunity pass you by. If you do, you may lose your chance. To get started, you just have to fill out the form below. We'll get started on your customized book, webpage, and video immediately so you can be up and running as soon as possible. The zip codes that have already been claimed are updated below. I also wanted to give you 3 additional tools to help you grow your business as a bonus if you order today. Bonus number 1 will help you determine if a market area, a farm, will get you to your financial goals. Remember, that's the first step, finding an area with enough sales and a high enough price point to generate the income you need. You have to treat your real estate business like a business, so you have to be strategic and you have to know your numbers. This Excel spreadsheet helps you capture all your expenses, both personal and professional. Then you plug in the average price point of the area you're considering. This is where the research we talked about earlier comes in handy. You need to look back over the past several years, not just a small window such as the past few months, to determine the average sales price. Once you plug in your numbers, the spreadsheet will tell you exactly how many sales you need. Depending on how many agents are in your area, you have to determine what your market share can be. If there are a lot of agents competing for your area, you should assume that you'd only be able to get about 1 sale out of every 5. That's 20% market share. If there are only a few agents, you might get 1 out of every 4 or 1 out of every 3. So that would be 25% market share or 33% market share. Then look at the number of sales in your target area to see if it can provide enough sales for you to hit your goals. The intention of the spreadsheet is to make sure that you're spending your time going after a market area that's going to pay off for you. If there aren't enough sales in the area based on the average price point, you can decide whether you should go after a larger area or maybe a different area with more sales or a higher price point, or both. Knowing these things before you start investing your time and money becoming the neighborhood expert is well worth the small amount of time it'll take to get the numbers figured out. If bonus number 1 was the only thing you got for your setup fee, it would be more than worth it because it can mean the difference between reaching your financial goals or wasting a lot of time going after a market that isn't going to get you where you need to be. I've seen far too many agents who decided to farm the neighborhood they lived in, and they spent a great deal of time and money doing the marketing, only to find out 6 months or a year later that it wasn't a good area for them to target in the first place because the average price point was too low or there weren't enough sales. That's when people get discouraged and get out of real estate, and I don't want that for you. The second bonus answers the question, and then what? What I mean by this is, once you have your book offer in place and you're generating seller leads, then what? You have to meet with the seller and get the listing, right? Bonus number 2 is my PowerPoint listing presentation. Every single time I've used this presentation, I get the listing. Now, from what I've been told, everyone else who's using it is getting the same results. Even brand new agents going out on their first listing appointment, it just works. The reason it works is because it doesn't talk about you. It focuses on exactly what sellers want to hear. The presentation's all about them and their goals and their needs. It took a long time to develop this, and it utilizes all the most successful selling techniques from multiple experts in sales. In the past, I've sold this listing presentation for as much as $297. You're getting it absolutely free when you order the seller book package. Along with it, you'll get the exact script that I use, so you don't have to spend a lot of time figuring out what to say and when. The third bonus is a free premium membership in the Agent Referral Club. The ARC is a free membership-based site that helps agents connect with one another to refer buyers and sellers to each other. Instead of using a Facebook group to ask, hey, does anyone know an agent in XYZ city that I can send a referral to? You'll be part of an exclusive club where you can quickly find other agents, you can learn about them, and you can make contact right away. We've also made it easy for you to be able to receive referrals for your area. So I said it was free. There are no limits to the number of basic level or free agent members there are per zip code. But what you're getting is an upgraded premium membership. A premium membership entitles just one person to be the exclusive agent who shows up in searches for that zip code. What that means is that that agent, you, will get all of the referrals. Premium membership is normally priced at $29.95 a month. When you take advantage of the Seller Book offer, you will get to be the premium member for your zip code at no extra cost. It's included in the $27 a month fee that you'll already be paying for the Seller Book package. So, thanks for sticking with me. Let's recap. Just by paying the setup fee, here's what you get. Your own customized book with you as the author. You can edit the book as much or as little as you want. You get to pick your own custom cover design with your photo on the front cover and the back, and your information is on the back as well. You get your own custom landing page where you can collect as many seller leads as you want. This is a lead capture page. You'll get your own video, your own infomercial, if you will, that encourages sellers to request your book. We'll deliver your book to your leads electronically, including an email from you, and we'll send you their information immediately. We'll prepare your book for the printer, and we'll get it set up for you to order if you want. Remember, you're not required to order any printed books. You'll have full access to all of this for a full 30 days after we get things set up. Then you'll be able to continue your Seller Book membership for just $27 a month, giving you exclusive rights to your entire zip code for as long as you want. You'll receive bonus number 1, the Excel spreadsheet that helps you determine if a market area will get you to your financial goals. You'll receive bonus number 2, the PowerPoint listing presentation and script that'll help ensure you get the listing. And you'll receive bonus number 3, where you'll become a premium member of the Agent Referral Club for as long as your Seller Book membership remains active. This also gives you exclusive rights to receive referrals for your entire zip code area. You'll remain the exclusive premium member for your zip code for as long as you're paying for the Seller Book lead generation package. I really just wanted to end this presentation today by saying that I hope, at the very least, that you have taken away some information that you're going to use right away. Even if you decide this offer isn't right for you, or even if someone else has already claimed your zip code and you can't take advantage of it, I hope you've learned that there are better ways to attract seller leads than by spending hours and hours every day making cold calls, and possibly even breaking the law by calling people on the do not call list. I also hope you've learned that you should not be spending hundreds or thousands of dollars every month on leads that other people generate for you. Be the expert in your area and generate your own leads. It's the only proven way to build a real estate business that will provide the life that you dreamed of when you got started. Now remember, the link to the demo lead generation landing page is below. Be sure to check it out. And I've also included a link for you to get a transcript of today's training so that you can reference this information later. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out. I'm here to help you build your real estate business in any way I can. Have a great day, and I look forward to working with you.